I'm AJ Green. You're watching NFL in London.
I'm just gonna make sure that the preferences and the audio and all of
I like
this.
how it asks me, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
because well, you don't want to be recording people and not. It's like, hey, how you doing? And then you just don't have permission to
yeah.
do it. So
So someone whips out their dick, you just hit that button.
yeah, no, just put you
Recording
got
in
you got to have the
progress.
dick cover button. Dick cover button. That sounds like a good name.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. It's NFL in London podcast. Wade McWay and Ryan Cull here, audio and video. I'm in Canada,
Remotely.
remote in Canada, getting in real. I'm able to watch the games in real time, which is nice. Being
Yeah,
able to
it's a
stay
true
up.
international podcast
It is
this week.
very international in Canada. Lots of NFL stuff going on. The games are on at 8 o'clock, which is always nice to be able to watch. We've got the game Thursday night, which we're going to get into. San Francisco and the Titans. Big NFL news, though. I mean, obviously, COVID, man.
It,
This is
it
this
is.
just
It is just ravaging. Like my fantasy teams have taken such a hit. Like my team in our league is went like 13-2.
yeah.
Like 5 starters have been wiped off the map.
And
It's
you're
just like
going against the guy. So you're going against the guy Martin in our league, who has like Jonathan Taylor, the Patriots defense.
unbelievable.
He's one of those guys. You're
Unbelievable.
watching him at this sort of the end of the season. You're like, this it's going to be trouble because when you got Jonathan Taylor moving in and that Pat's D, especially against Buffalo, it's going to be tough.
Unless, yeah, Fournette, Eckler, Tyreek Hill. I think there's one more. So hopefully they're going to be okay because Omicron is like diet COVID.
It is sort of
It doesn't have the full punch of COVID.
yes.
So I'm hoping they're going to be back.
Yeah, someone was reading that. What did I see that they should get Netflix to run the Omicron virus because nothing lasts 3 seasons with Netflix.
That's a
So
good joke.
yeah,
Good joke.
but we got lots of games going on. The real sad thing, Vincent Jackson. I don't know if you read that. Man, when they did his
Well, he died
autopsy.
a couple years ago, though.
Yeah, but
He
it
was
was
an
just
alcoholic.
yeah, it's just sad. I mean, when you start looking at players and just sort of that dovetail down into how this sort of dissipation of. When you don't have football, you don't have the league. It's really unfortunate, really sad for.
It's tough, when you go from being on top and then you have to go, to be one of the schmucks like us.
Yeah, well,
You
we
know?
that's just how we've been, exactly like us, from on top to just being schmucks. Other sort of NFL news. I mean, look, there's some big games. We don't going into the playoffs. It's nice having this. Nice around Christmas games tonight, Boxing Day games. Very exciting. Ditch the family, man. That's
I
exciting.
do like the Christmas game. I think it's really beneficial for us because you get it really late where everyone's kind of tired. So if you're like, do you mind if I watch football by 10 o'clock? They're like, I don't give a shit what you do.
Exactly.
This
Presents
time.
are open. Baby's asleep. The
Everyone's
tryptophan and the
done so.
turkey's kicking in. The good thing is the Christmas games are on here in North America. They're on at 4:30 and 8. And since I quit drinking, I'll be
I
on
remember
edibles. So.
Yeah. I remember watching myself win my fantasy league on Christmas Day. It was an unbelievable experience. So I hope someone has another Christmas miracle.
Best Christmas
coming up.
ever. Best.
Oh, it was great.
The best Christmas ever. Well, let's get in. Let's start talking about these games because we've got obviously fantasy is a big thing for a lot of people. COVID not happening, not really good. But we've got a great game tonight. Thursday night game. San Francisco 49ers, who are 8-6, visiting the Tennessee Titans, who are 9-5. Tennessee hoping to get a bunch of their players back. The line in this one is 3-point favorites for the 49ers. 44.5 points is the over-under in this one. You have to start looking about sort of Debo and Kittle, just the damage that these two guys do. And Tennessee, just from having the Derrick Henry, who was leading in rushing, to having all these wide receivers, they've been just sort of limping along, getting into the playoffs, hoping to get everyone back in time. But is Shanahan the genius? Is he gonna master this and take down Tennessee?
Ever since I've talked shit about him, he's been unbelievable.
It's your fault.
You know what? It really just it fits my brand.
Yeah.
But to me, like Tennessee's now lost. Julio Jones is out for the year. So they're sitting on this, like, and even if they cut him next year, it's like 14 million off their cap. So it's just, that was looking like everyone was just like, what a genius trade.
Yeah.
AJ Brown and Julio Jones. They have not played together. They played together like 3 games this year.
Yeah.
To me, it's just Niners coming into them. They're too injured, and Ryan Tannehill isn't the quarterback that can make up for that. He's not the guy that's going to put you on the back and say, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." They lost to the Jets. So
Jets.
To me, this is you going against one of the hottest teams in football right now, who can run it. Debo Samuel might be the first wide receiver to ever lead his team in rushing in NFL history, which would be hilarious. It's almost as bad as Fitz leading his team in rushing last year with Miami, which was
exactly
embarrassing. statistic. So I'm gonna go Niners. I think they're just the hot team. You play the hot team. Tennessee, even though they beat Pittsburgh, they lost to Pittsburgh last. Did they beat Pittsburgh? Either way,
They
it was
lost
an
to
ugly
Pittsburgh,
game.
but they
Yeah.
committed a lot of mistakes, and that was the problem. And it was a lot of turnovers. Pittsburgh
They
took
were
advantage
the-
of that. So you just got to stop making the mistakes, stop dropping the ball. But they were able to run the ball a bit with Foreman.
Yeah, but so they put up 13 points against Pittsburgh. You're now going up against an even maybe harder defense with Bosa, who's playing on out of his mind right now. So I'm gonna go with the Niners to win this pretty easily. I'm gonna go 27-20.
27-20. I also have the 49ers to score 27, but I have the Titans to score 26. I think it's going to be a close game. If A.J. Brown, comes back, we're going to see who's going to be hit by virus. But A.J. Brown, I think, is going to be a big difference in this one. But again, 49ers is going to be back and forth. It's going to be tight. I think the first half is going to start slow, like a lot of these games, and then get in. But I've got 27-26 down to the wire. I think it's going to be an exciting game. It starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 1 a.m. in the UK.
Yeah, 120.
120. I will be up watching it here. That'll be a good game. Big games, aside from the Pro Bowl, which we're all excited for. I think everyone saw the Pro Bowl and said, this is great. Can't wait to watch that. But this is our Pro Bowl, Christmas Day, 4:20 or 4:30, I guess, 9 o'clock in the UK. It's Cleveland Browns, 7-7. Green Bay Packers, 11-3. Green Bay is 8-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. Green Bay, look, JT Huntley, man, a lot of people are going to be wanting this kid next year. Stepping up for Lamar.
That's we've all been down this. Guy has one good game.
No, he's the new hot thing. Everyone wants him. But Cleveland, I think the big thing is they're getting a lot of guys back from injury now. They're sort of slowly. Baker should be back. Is he going to be fully healthy?
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt should be back. Jarvis Landry coming back. And then you've got that Cleveland defense, which slowly is starting to return. They're starting to put the sacks. Garrett's starting to come together. At 7-7, you wonder, Green Bay, who sort of has been Aaron Rodgers keeping them in it, and obviously he's out of the MVP conversation because Vaxie. But is this something where Cleveland maybe has a
Not
chance?
really. He can totally.
I think he's torched. I think he's torched his MVP talk.
I think Cleveland's going to keep this close for a couple of reasons. I think they're pissed. I think coming off that COVID game where 90% of the team was out. To me, I don't think an angry Baker Mayfield is anyone I'm afraid of. I still think the Packers win. I think they're the better team. They have a better defense. Baker is literally, he's thrown like 15 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
It's just been absolutely mediocre. I just don't think, even with the weapons, Green Bay now with that loss by the Bucks, they got that opening for number one. So you got to win out now to get that number one seed. So it goes through. Let's get the Tampa Bay back in Green Bay again for another shot.
Yeah.
So I think Green Bay's Rodgers is I think he's going to wrap up the MVP, to be honest with you, in a couple of weeks. He just looks awesome. He's on fire. So I think he wins this, but I think it's going to be close. It's 26-23.
I've also got it as a close game. Again, I don't think Rodgers. I think the whole Vax thing and him and his whiny toe. I think people are over it. But I think this is going to be close, and I think Cleveland needs to keep this close. But again, the difference is Rodgers. He does step up, and it makes that big difference, and that is really what an MVP does. But it's tough. But I've got 28-24. I think it'll be a good game. Cleveland really needs to do something, and but it's going to be tough in Green Bay. Getting the motivation. Cleveland's best thing is get the double-headed Chubb and Hunt going again, because that's where you can really do it. And if you could just power and do through that and just grind it, Green Bay's going to get down. Maybe Bakhtiari comes back, but again, he's missing. Rodgers is still missing a lot of tools there. So if they don't get those back, it's going to be difficult. Another great game on Christmas. This one will be at 1 a.m, I guess, around UK time. Indianapolis Colts 8-6 against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray could not throw it over the Detroit Lions. What an inspired game, the Detroit Lions last week. The Cardinals are now 10-4. This line was 1.5, I guess. 49.5 points is the over/under in this one. I think a lot of people shocked, obviously, Detroit beating Arizona last week. But, you've got this Indianapolis Colts team who's doing well, but at 8-6, their biggest enemy is themselves. So you sort of look and go, can they get everything together here? You look at the pressure that they put on, and that's this defense that the Colts is able to put on the pressure. The Cardinals at home, can they survive this and thrive in it?
Yeah, this is where now it's like all the people who've been like the Cliff Kingsbury haters, like myself, who are just feeling like vindicated, like, oh, here we go. Here comes the collapse here. Because to me, it just feels like losing Hopkins, it's such a big loss because AJ Green is not going to be able to pick up that slack. Kirk and Moore are just kind of like gadget players, and it really makes Connor's job even harder because now Connor is less effective. So losing Hopkins just basically affected the whole offense and every aspect of it, and it's just one that I don't think at that Kyler can just put the team on his back like other quarterbacks can, because he just, that game against Detroit really worries me. And I think especially that they're going to be going into real physical games in their division. They need this one desperately. And the Colts are in this position where they can't really lose. They need to keep winning. So it's such a tough game. I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win just because I think Kyler's better than Wentz, and Wentz, even against, beating the Patriots, he completed 5 passes. Like, this is a guy who, unless Jonathan Taylor just runs it up and down the field on them, like, he can't throw it for the win. So I'm going to go with Kyler, who can. He's the better quarterback in a really close scoring game. I'm going to go 27-26 Cards.
Yeah, I've got it pretty much close as well. I think I want to get the over under on how many times they say they do a play on Carson Wentz and Wentzless. King Wentzless, because I've heard it before and it's annoying, and it seems that they use it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a close one. It's Indianapolis has got some great defense.
Because they can't
here.
compare him to a good football player.
No, exactly, and he's not a savior to anyone, and no one would want him at the birth of their child. But look, the Cardinals are the big difference. They got to be at home, and this is something where you sort of go, look, guys, we got to put this together, man. Like we've had some good wins, but this Detroit loss is just embarrassing. They're gonna have to win.
Smell the blood in the water.
Yeah,
the blood in the water.
but the Colts are
in the NFC.
Yeah, and you could see that, and you sort of look when you see that loss last week, you go, geez, they could go in the playoffs and be done in the first game. If Detroit can do that. But the Colts really have a lot. I think Colts are going to be very fired up in this one. But again, it comes down to the Colts. Their biggest enemy is themselves. They end up beating themselves. So I could see them doing it in this game. I got it 30-28. Great game. Boxing.
Who do you take?
I got Arizona winning 30-28. Yeah, just Arizona. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think it will be close. I think it will be good.
Exciting. I will be up for it, although I'd probably be 4 edibles deep, so it's going to be a crazy game. In Canada, baby. Let's go into Boxing Day. Boxing Day, great day of sports in the UK. I won't be there.
Not just for soccer.
Not just for soccer. Coming. Everything is on. It's going to be lots of things. Sports Bar and Grill. Since the Omicron sucks and you guys can all go out again, hit the Sports Bar and Grill in Clapham and Old Street. Oh, it's going to be crazy. Book ahead though, folks, because you can book a table, get your own TV, your own screen. It's great. So the games are going to be exciting on Boxing Day. Lots of games that are going on. The first one we'll talk about. This is a chance for the Bucks to solidify and take the AFC South or NFC South. It's the Bucks at 10-4 visiting Cam. I'm back. And he's not, because he hasn't won since then. 5-10.
He is back. He's back to being the terrible candidate that everyone expected him to be.
Now the Tampa Bay Bucks obviously
is back.
You lose Godwin, gone, and it's pretty much he's gonna be a free agent next year, so he's gone next year anyway. And then you got AB maybe coming back, and he's teamed up with Le'Veon Bell. It's the old Steeler team. Who knows with Tom Brady and all these guys if they're able to put it together. But the Carolina Panthers cannot stop a run, so you're wondering with Fournette and the COVID, Ronald Jones, what they're able to do here. But Tom Brady, obviously, this is his first shutout ever, and seeing angry Tom Brady. When you're looking, it was a funny meme.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, that whole thing about like the Bears player can just stare at the sideline.
Yeah, and he can go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it was so infuriating.
That is everything everyone's been yelling at for years. That all the naysayers are just like, oh, you're just paranoid. You're just paranoid. That is what we've been talking about. The guy is classless. Like, he's always been classless. He's personified as this like ambassador of the game. He is like everything other than being great at it.
Yeah.
Being a sportsman, he is the worst. And he embarrasses himself week in, week out.
Bears fans know this. We've seen it. But 11-point favorites in this one. That was when you see him go fuck yourself and the angry, and you're like, whoa, so many other players, no flag, and so many other players just looking, or a clap, it's $10,000, $10,000 fine.
Maybe they're just saying, like, I guess you can't get a taunting penalty when you're getting shut out. Because it's like, what are you taunting about?
Yeah, taunting. Yeah, well, we're losing more, so we're the better losers. Either or, Carolina.
That Godwin injury is so big.
It's massive for the
that is
playoffs.
massive. Fournette's out for the next
Mhm.
3 weeks. Luckily, they have such an easy schedule; they'll be able to win out pretty easily. But and having Antonio Brown comes out, so he's going to be huge in like the fantasy playoffs
Yeah.
for people who've been just waiting for him to come. I think Brady's going to be able to really just pick them apart. Again, Carolina's awful. If they even play Cam, I don't know what they're doing. Just play Darnold.
Yeah.
He's better.
Mhm.
Even if he can't be as bad as Cam's going. This experiment has failed.
Yeah,
it's
no,
over,
exactly.
Cam. Bucks are just going to be, even this, I think they're going to be too strong, but they're not going to put up 30. I think they'll put up 27 to 14, I say.
I've got it 28-13, so pretty much close there. I could see them covering this 11 points. Brady, I mean, angry Brady used to be a scary thing, but angry Brady is not as scary as he used to be anymore. But still, they need this. This is an easy win. You don't have the McCaffrey, you don't have any of it. Hubbard might be able to get some running, but the Bucs defense needs to really step up here, and they will. Carolina is sort of flat, and I think the postseason is beckoning there at a 5-10 record. I've got it 28-13. Another big Boxing Day game we have here is the New York Giants, who are 4-10. They got a defense, and they got the big neck of Mike Glennon, but they don't have Daniel Jones. And they are facing the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia had over 540 running yards against Washington last week. Jalen Hurts and company, they're 7-7. They're 10-point favorites in this one. Eagles are starting to look good, although in that division where Dallas is sort of running over everyone, you sort of go, Jalen Hurts is looking good, even though everyone's talking about he'll probably be gone off the team next year. Giants, do they have any chance with Jake Fromm, who can't throw the ball more than 5 yards, it looks like.
Off the Bills practice squad. So, yeah, to me, this is like an easy bet. I think, the only difference is last time, Jalen Hurts' worst game of the year came against the Giants. We had that just awful game. We were just throwing picks all over the place. But I think the fact that they're 7-7, you saw some teams falling off, like the Seahawks losing. I think they can sniff the playoffs. And I think it's, for someone like Jalen Hurts, if he gets them to the playoffs when everyone was pretty much expecting top 5 pick, I think, why would you get rid of him if he can get you to the playoffs? So I think it's a big game for him. He's got to get it going. They can't really be stopped. And unfortunately, Jake Fromm's going to be doing lots of turnovers. Lots of 3 and outs. So I think this is an easy bet. I'm going to go Eagles 30, Giants 13.
I think this Giants defense can keep him in. Philadelphia, I can see winning, but 10 points to me is a lot. I maybe had it at 7 when I was looking at the line, so I've got it 24-17. I don't see it being that high. Philadelphia had an emotional win off of the Washington last week. You're facing this Giants team, but Giants are pretty good up the middle. The one thing I will say, I think that Dallas Goedert will have a good game. The Giants are really weak against tight ends, so I can see him using Goddard a lot, running the ball. But again, the 500 yards that they had, and Miles Sanders still will be disappointed. He's a fantasy bust for anyone who had him at the start and continued to, or Gainwell or whoever. The biggest rushing guy on that team is Jalen Hurts, and he's the one who gets the touchdown. So I've got it 24-17. Another big game we've got, it's the LA Chargers, man. Very tight game. What a tight loss against, had they won the coin flip against the Chiefs, they could have won this game last week. They're 8-6, and they're facing Houston, who are 3-11, and Davis Mills is not as horrible as people thought. Maybe. Brandon Cooks is the shining light for anyone who had him in fantasy. You just feel bad for this guy putting up points. You're like, how did he get so many points when there's nothing really there? But the Chargers,
he's been quite good.
He's been good, but it's just having anyone to throw to him. Eckler looks like he is going to be COVIDity. A few other guys on the team could be out as well. Bosa maybe as well. So, COVID ripping through LA. Get your vax.
Well, it is Thursday, so there's still a good chance that could be okay.
There's a chance he can make, especially with Omicron being about as weak as the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. What are you thinking of this one?
As weak as Urban Meyer's authority.
As weak as Urban Meyer's excuses.
Yeah.
She said she was Urban. Just don't even start with that, Urban. Yeah.
This feels like a great bet. I'm betting this on the weekend. 10 points against Houston, the Chargers being the hot team, knowing that they have to stay within the division. To me, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to take this bet all day. Davis Mills, even though they're going to be, the thing is you can run against the Chargers, you can't pass against them.
Yeah.
And Houston doesn't have a great running game, and they don't have a great passing game. So if they can just basically force them to pass, with their offense that they should take this easily. I think Houston's admirable. Davis Mills is trying to kind of fight, but there's no way they're going to keep him next year as the starter, no matter what he does. So I'm going with Chargers to win this easily, 34-17.
Yeah, I've got it 33-20. It's the Chargers really this is at 8-6 now. You sort of have to get that definition going, spread that gap, as I've seen on I think it was Pornhub. But you got to get this definition and separation going, which I think that they will. 33-20 here. Houston it's just too much for them. Speaking of too much, it's Detroit at 2-11-1 at Atlanta, who's 6-8. Atlanta's 6-point favorites in this one. Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, is this everyone's favorite news story of December? I don't know. I'm you always felt bad and people with Patrick and sort of going, oh man, if they could get it together, and they're playing with joy, and for everyone saying, Goff, it wasn't working. He's been busting his ass. The Detroit Lions defense is stepping up. All of these wide receivers out of nowhere is stepping up. This sort of sad sack story of this Lions team has been inspiring, and the win last week over the Cardinals was a surprise and great. But you've got this Atlanta team, and you sort of go, could they do it again? But then the COVIDity is really starting to hit across the Lions as well, wondering if they'll be able to get players back because Goff is off and a few other people as well. So the line is sort of up, but it's at 6 points now for Atlanta.
Yeah, it feels like if Goff's not playing, there's no way you could pick Detroit. I think
Tim Boyle.
Or they used to have that guy Blau. Just
Blau. Yeah, no, it's Boyle and Blau.
The sound of vomit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Atlanta. I think just that they need to win out to make the playoffs. So this is to do or die. The one thing is, like, I've read that Kyle Pitts is like on pace to break the receiving record for a rookie, but he's had the most unimpressive record-breaking first year I think I've ever seen. Like, he gets like 60 yards a game, and that's about it. Like, one touchdown. It's been a weird year, but yet he's somehow on pace to break the record.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, okay, sure. I'm gonna go, if Goff was playing, I'd pick Detroit to cover, but I'm gonna go with Falcons to cover just because if Goff's out, Matt Ryan should be able to take care of business with Cordell Patterson. They're going to be able to score. So I'm going to go 27-20.
I've got it. It's one of these game lines you just got to watch. But I actually like Detroit just to keep it because their defense is plucky and they keep themselves in it. And they're in a dome, so that should be good. Atlanta, I mean, they're playoffs. They're trying to make the playoffs, but they also could be out. If Atlanta's
if they lose, they're pretty much out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just sort of it's on life support, and you're sort of going, his eyes moved. Did you see that? Did you see? No, he's on life support. He's gonna die. I've got it 20-18 only because I think it's gonna be low scoring, and Detroit can keep it in. I would like if Goff is in and they can get some of the Detroit players back. I'm going to switch this, and I could like to see a Detroit win in this one. Cordell Patterson, yeah, he's doing everything for him. Too bad they didn't nominate him for a Pro Bowl because it seems like he should have, him and Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
but
right?
Anyway, you sort of go, wow, Cordell Patterson was the team of Atlanta. To me, he was a big Pro Bowl snub, but the Pro Bowl means nothing anyway. I think SpongeBob is playing in it this year. Big game, AFC North, this one. Baltimore, 8-6. Cincinnati, 8-6. Last time these two teams played, Joe Burrow went off and just destroyed them with over 40 points. And they were all over them. This time, though, Baltimore's missing a lot of their secondary. But Baltimore was able to keep it tight against the Green Bay, who made a lot of mistakes. Cincinnati, JB, his finger, are they ready? They got the running game. Is this a game where Cincinnati can really just sort of put the boot on the throat and say, I'm going to the playoffs?
Yeah, because John Harbaugh the last 2 weeks is just, he's been watching way too much Moneyball, way too much analytics stuff, because he's just like, we're going for it every time. And at the end of the year, if they end up losing the playoffs by a game, you're going to look back at those two plays in those last 2 weeks and be like, maybe you got Justin Tucker, the best kicker of all time.
Yeah.
Yet you're putting it in the hands of Hundley. It's just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. So those are real big gambles that could come back to pay. I think Bengals are going to win this. I think Joe Burrow, they got their number. They have more weapons. Joe Mixon looks great. I think they're at home, which is going to benefit them. And I just think the Ravens have just had too many injuries, too much. But I think it will be close. I'm going to go Bengals 27-24.
27-24. You got it close. I don't see this as being close. I think this is going to be a smoking blowout. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to destroy them. I got points aplenty. I got 38-20. I think it's going to be points. It's just going to be crazy points. If you're going to bet in fantasy, this is the one. These two teams hate each other. And Baltimore just having so many injuries in that secondary, this is a chance for them. So, they're going to scramble around. But Cincinnati, I think, is just, they've had enough of these tight losses over the past little bit when you started that record really strong and then you see it fall apart. So I've just got them throwing a beat down. 38-20, big one. It's the last of our 6 o'clock games we have. It's the LA Rams, who are 10-4. Still, the COVIDity struggling, and they're visiting the Minnesota Vikings, 7-7. How about those Vikings? Minnesota, even though the Bears, they beat the Bears last week, even though the Bears basically triple scored them in yards.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins did everything in his power to just to make everyone be like, yeah, this is primetime Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
it was just the perfect example of why everyone just hates Kirk Cousins.
Well, it's also, you look at the Bears. We shut down the running game of Minnesota last week. Dalvin Cook was getting nothing. It was a frustrating game as a Bears fan to watch, because obviously you're watching this and going, we beat them. Look at the stats. We beat them. And we still lost. Part of reffing. But just dumb. But listen, now you got
every game is part of reffing now. Like the refs have just, if there's any storyline about this season other than COVID, it's the refs.
It's got, and there's got to be some of this addressing where it's like you just can't. We keep saying, oh, bad refs. When is the league going to, if we actually, and I think after the season, we can start putting together a sort of a timeline of going, look at all the bad reffings per games and what's sort of happened. And when you start looking at it and go, Jesus, this was a bad year of bad reffing. And you sort of go, why? I don't understand this. But the Rams, 3-point favorites in this one. Cooper Kupp, who is just playing phenomenal. You've got Jalen Ramsey in this one, Justin Jefferson. Exciting game. And LA, again, the reffing against Seattle last week, you sort of go, that was close. That could have been a close. There were some bad calls in this one as well. You've got 3-point favorites. It's in Minnesota, 49.5 points over under. I'm going to say it right off the get-go. I'm calling for a Minnesota win in this one. I think Minnesota beats them. I think Minnesota beats them in this one.
I can see that. The thing is, I find that Minnesota, what they do is they play to the caliber of their opponents always. Mm-hmm. So if their opponent's shit, Minnesota's going to play shit. If their opponents are really good, they're going to shoot it out with them. It's such a weird philosophy to play football by. But I think you're absolutely right. I think Minnesota can win this. I think they're desperate. I think, and I think I'm with you on this one. I think they're going to take this one in a high-score game, 30-27. I think with Dalvin Cook and Jefferson, they're just going to be able to keep up, and it just feels in Minnesota they're just going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, and I've got it. I've got it 30-28. My big thing, I think, in this one, because you got Jalen Ramsey's going to take out Justin Jefferson. So what if Adam Thielen comes back, which they're saying he could be coming back? Then you got a problem because Adam Thielen is going to open up all new things in the field. And you've got enough of this, Conklin enough happening here that, to me, I kept saying this all season. The Colts and Minnesota are teams you don't want to face because they have enough talent, but they screw themselves up all the time. But when they play well, they can mess up your chances. And the Rams have been playing sort of up and down football. Minnesota knows they need to win. They're at home. And although LA is good at shutting down a run, I think this is going to be a very exciting game. But I got Minnesota winning it, and LA sort of going, wow, we're 10-5 now. What the hell is going on? We go into our 4 o'clock games in the UK again.
You did miss one 6 o'clock game.
Which one did I miss again?
A very important one.
Oh, Buffalo.
Maybe the most important.
Oh, I've got 2 actually. We got Jacksonville and the Jets. There's 2 at 1 o'clock. I forgot that one. We'll go to Buffalo, and I forgot. You don't like that? It's an uncomfortable one.
We can do the Jets one quickly.
Let's do the Jets first, because this is exciting. Urban Meyerless.
Robert Salah's gone.
Robert Salah, he's gone.
They have about like 20 guys either on COVID or injured. It's going to be, to me, it's a Jaguars win.
Well, you'd think so, but then it's the Jaguars.
I think so.
The 2-12 Jags, versus the 3-11. The Jets open at 3.5. The line has been changing. 41.5 points over under. As you say, COVIDity, injuries. You don't have any of your best wide receivers in this game. Michael Carter will be back, but he didn't look like he was really going. But Jacksonville, as we know, has a great against the run defense. James Robinson is awesome, so we just wonder if they're going to get him going. I think it's a low-scoring game in New York. So
Yeah.
what do you see in this one?
I think so. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think the Jags are going to win. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to outplay Zach Wilson, with just because of James Robinson. I think he's the difference maker. I think the Jets, with no coach, they got no real plan. They have no weapons. It's just going to be tough. And it always feels like that team that has the number one pick does everything in their power to lose it around this time. So because players don't really care about that stuff. So I'm going to go with the Jags with their first win without Urban Meyer.
Okay.
And I go 2017.
2017. I've got it a very close game as well. I got it 21-20. And that's the Jets winning by 1 point. Only because I think Jacksonville can screw up everything. And who knows, you're number one in the draft pick now. So maybe see if we can rebuild the team.
People don't care about that. We saw it last year with the Jets.
We saw it, but this is the Jaguars. They seem to care about crap. So I've got it 21-20 for the Jets, and I think the Jaguars are covered. But just for some reason, I just see the Jets at home, just even with missing everyone, just able to put together a 1 point win over these tough turds. Okay, we'll go to the other 1 o'clock game, and this is the one you really excited about, the AFC North. It's the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots, and we want to check the weather. Because weather played a really big role last time. Can you throw the ball? Now it looks like it's going to be around 5 to 7 degrees in New England. So that should be all right. And at least you'll get the ball passing. 8-6 Buffalo, 9-5 New England. And they're 2.5 point favorites in this one.
No, it feels like hopefully we finally get to see the game we were promised. I want to see Mac Jones pass. I want the Bills to have to force Mac Jones to pass. I think, we've lost Cole Beasley to COVID, which I think we all saw coming.
He's not vaccinated?
At the beginning of the year.
Really? No, come on, Cole.
Don't worry, he's going to yell it out of his system. So
he's immunized, though. I hope.
Yeah. But again, I think this is a great opportunity for Buffalo. I think they're angry. I think that they didn't get to play the game they wanted to play. They can pass it on this team. They even showed it in that win. They were able to move it on them. I think that they're the more desperate team. I think they're going to make Mac Jones throw it. They're not going to go down 14-0. They're not going to get run on like they did last time in that weather. So I think the Bills are going to be able to pull this off. I'm going to say 24-20.
Yeah, the one thing I sort of noticed in that game is, obviously Bill Belichick's doing his thing and frustrating, but the Buffalo Bills were able to sort of second half make adjustments and make plans. Let's not forget this Buffalo defense. I mean, aside from Tom Brady, they've been just devastating offenses, and it's very difficult to get things across on this Buffalo defense. I think this is the time that they all step up, they make the adjustments, they say Buffalo knows that they have to win this one, and they've got more talent. You can shut down Diggs.
Yeah, and from watching the Colts game, if you look at what they did, they got out to a 20-0 lead, and they had to force Mac Jones to make a comeback, and that's what kind of ended up winning them the game, because they were able to because Carson Wentz couldn't do anything to help it, but make Mac Jones beat you. Don't give him a lead, because he hasn't been able to come back when he's down. So that's the game plan. That's what you have to do. Come out strong, get points.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's been faking everyone out by wearing that boot. Oh, my foot. But he's been playing a little Rodgers to get to Bill Belichick. I've got it 21-18. I think it's going to be low scoring, but Buffalo wins 21-18. We move to the 4 o'clock games now, the late games in the UK. 4 o'clock here in North America. My Bears are playing Chicago at Seattle. 4-10 Bears at Seattle. 5-9. It is official. The Seahawks will have a losing record this year. They will not be able to win.
First time ever.
They are, however, 7-point favorites over the Bears. Spoiler alert, I got the Bears winning this one. I think the Bears are going to win. But I am big on this one, even though Chicago made a whole bunch of mistakes last week. Still outplayed them, outgained them, and I think we got a better team.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think it feels like this is the end of I'm watching the Beatles thing. It feels like we're watching the last album they're making together.
Falling off the roof of the record store.
But unfortunately, this one is a diabolical album.
Yeah.
Putting together. It feels like this is all going to break up. I think Russ is done. I think mentally they're checked out. I think the Bears are going to want to prove something. So I think you're right. I think this is an upset. I'm going to go Bears. I'm not even playing Russell Wilson anymore in fantasy. Can't do it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm going to go Bears to win this 21-17.
So I got it 24-20. Look, again, we outplayed Minnesota last week. Justin Fields is now starting. We're starting to get his back, but he's starting to look like he's having fun. There's a bit more. He's not crying on the sidelines. I think that there's a bit more,
which is always a good sign.
Yeah, and you're starting to look at our defense. We got some guys coming back. We've got some injuries, guys coming back from injuries. So Hicks is back, and look what we did. Like Dalvin Cook did nothing last week against the Bears. So you think the running game's going to happen? They're going to put a lot of pressure. Chicago's getting healthy. Even at 4-10, it's going to go. We're not that bad, and I think we're going to beat them. I think we got it 24-20. Another big AFC battle a couple years ago. This one would have been great. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 7-6-1, at the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 10-4 at home in Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 10. They're winning. The Chiefs are winning, but they're not as definitive as they used to be. They're not. That was a close game that they had against LA last week. Again, it was a coin toss. They still make a lot of mistakes. Now you also have to look at people being out. Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, all of this COVIDity and what's going to happen with that. But of course, you've also got the Pittsburgh. Ben is just not looking good. Freiermuth, who was looking good, unfortunately has had like 2 concussions in a short amount of time. So you sort of wonder how Pittsburgh is going to actually be able to stay in this one and keep it competitive. But if Kansas City, what they're going to be able to do on themselves.
Yeah, it's tough because this game could completely change in a couple of days where everyone's back and it's fine. So at the moment now, if there's no Kelsey, there's no Hill, there's no that, I'm taking Pittsburgh to cover. I'm still going to take Chiefs to win, but I just think they're going to be able to pass rush with 4. And if Mahomes doesn't have Kelsey or Hill, who's he throwing it to?
No, exactly.
So I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to say 23-20 Chiefs. But I think Pittsburgh, there's no way I'm taking that 10 with all those injuries.
Yeah, I've actually got it as 11 points. I just think that Kansas City will still win. I think they'll get a lot of their guys back. I've got it 31-20 for Kansas City. I just think Pittsburgh's bad. And the defense for Kansas City is the one thing that's sort of keeping them in games. So I could see them shutting down the run, putting a lot of pressure on Big Ben. I got it 31-20 because I think some of the guys will be back for Kansas City. They need it more. Pittsburgh got that win over the Titans last week, but the Titans screwed up. It was the Titans' own mistakes that allowed that victory to happen. So I am going 31-20. Another big AFC battle. It sees the Denver Broncos 7-7 visiting the 7-7 Las Vegas Raiders. Teddy Bridgewater saying could be back. Did you see him getting knocked out? The concussion. They're saying, oh, he might play. No way he should play. They're saying he could clear it. That's what I was reading today. No way. It's going to be Drew Lock probably. That was carted off with his neck. It's always scary when you see that. But you've got Las Vegas, since they've lost Ruggs, they haven't scored more than 17 points in a game. So this is, Las Vegas is not the scoring threat they used to be.
No, and they could barely beat a Cleveland team with like 80% of their team out.
Now, Waller could be back, but he hasn't practiced yet, so there's also possible.
To me, even with Drew Lock, I think Drew Lock is at least familiar enough with this team that he can step in and be just as good as Bridgewater. I think the fact that the Broncos have the better just the Raiders to me just seem toast. They seem like they have nothing to play for. Broncos, even though they somehow won, are still in the playoff hunt. I think the Broncos win this, but I think it's going to be a close game. 21-20, I say Broncos, but it's not going to be a good game.
Oh, no, I agree with you. It's going to be a really bad game. And even Red Zone, I think, will probably be blocking out part of it. But I've actually got Las Vegas to win it, only because it's at home, and I think that Drew Lock is not even half as good. He makes a lot of stupid mistakes, so I could see him throwing the ball away a lot. I've got it 18-16. Mormon wedding. It's just not going to be that big. Next big game we've got is another big divisional one. It's Washington football team 6-8 against Dallas 10-4. Dallas had their number last time. There was quite a big difference 2 weeks ago. You wonder if what's going to change. Everyone's getting some people back from injuries, but with Washington not really having anything of sustenance or substance in their team, going against this Dallas team who seems to be on the rise, even though they're not as definitive as they should be yet. Dallas is favored by 10.5 points in this one. 47.5 is the over.
No, I think division games are always close in this, and Dallas to me just doesn't seem that they should be given 11 points because they haven't been with all those weapons. They still look like they're confused. Like Zeke is kind of injured. They can't get CeeDee Lamb going at all.
Yeah.
The guy can't get touchdowns. Even, Cooper hasn't looked great. It just feels a bit of a mess. So I'm gonna go. I think Washington could actually win this, but I don't think they will. I think it's gonna be close. I think Heineke's done enough to show that he can keep these games close. These teams know each other. They fight. They hate each other. So you got to take that into consideration. So I'm going to go 27-24 Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. 10.5 is a lot to spot the Cowboys, given with some of the play that they've put together with lately. They've just been very inconsistent with it. And, I think because they blew this team out 2 weeks ago, there's sort of that... There's going to be sort of a chance for Washington to sort of come back, but I don't think they can replicate it. I've actually got it as 26-18, 8 points. I think that Washington can keep it in. They're not going to. Maybe they can get the running game going a bit, get Gibson in. I think the passing game will struggle a bit, but Washington will keep it close. But Dallas with another win. The final game that we have of Week 16, which a lot of people will be looking forward to close out your fantasy. This is another one. Miami 7-7, who have been playing great lately with Tua, are visiting New Orleans, who are also 7-7. 7-7, favorite drink in the South for a lot of people. If you've never had it, Taysom Hill, they got their win. They're flying high off of beating TB12, shutting him out. No one's ever shut out Tom Brady before. They're favored by 3 points. And again, I'm going to throw my bold prediction.
That's not true. The Bills shut out Tom Brady once in 2006.
Did they?
It was a great day.
Okay.
No, 2000. I think it was like 2001, maybe.
2001.
But it has happened.
Regular season or preseason?
Yeah, it was week 1. It was
okay.
One.
Well, this is my big. I got another big upset. I got Miami winning this one comfortably.
Really?
Even though New Orleans is favored by 3, I think Miami is just playing really good football. New Orleans, they won. They weren't that good though. And I think Taysom Hill, he's going to struggle in this one. You've also got this Miami defense. You also have Miami, a lot of guys coming back. Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. You got a lot of talent coming back. So, you've got Miami. I think that they really they've got this sniff of playoffs going. And you look at, all the wins have been coming in the sort of the second half of the season. So I like them here. I like the motivation here. And it's, New Orleans having that win over the Bucs. You got a bit of emotion, but I think the gas could get out of the tank.
I don't know. I think they're both equally as desperate. I think Miami's beaten up on a lot of bad teams because Buffalo's done the same thing, that same kind of group, the Jacksonville, even though Buffalo lost Jacksonville, but the Houstons, they haven't had a lot of tough games. So I'm going to go with the fact that the Saints were able to shut out Brady. If you can shut out Brady and you let Tua come in and light you up, that's just not going to, I can't see that happen. Cameron Jordan's too good. Lattimore is going to be able to take him out. I think Sean Payton's a better coach. They can sniff the playoffs as well. So I'm going to go with the Saints. But I think it's going to be close. I'm going to say 23-20. The Saints win this.
And I've got it Miami 20-13. I just think they're going to win. That's it for our Week 16, everyone. As I said, Boxing Day, Sports Bar and Grill, Clapham, Old Street. Everyone's going to be partying. I'll be in Canada, staying with my house. But I will be back, and thanks a lot for listening, everyone. And make sure you follow us, everything. Joey, we've got some DraftKings going on. It's always fun. Always listen to our podcast. Check out all our channels. And thanks a lot for listening, everyone. Stay safe and stay sane.